What's up, everybody? Brady here coming at you with a review for the new 10 Years EP Inner Darkness that was released this past Friday, October 11th. I've always really liked this band and their style of alt metal. I really enjoy their breakout album, 2005's The Autumn Effect. It's an album I regularly return to, usually around the time fall starts, so it's been in my rotation lately, also just in preparation for this EP. And the three albums after that were solid, a little bit heavier at times, but for the most part kind of stuck to that same sound. And it wasn't until this band's unmistakable high point for me, 2015's From Birth to Burial, where they changed up their sound. I fucking love that record. I did a favorite albums video on it if you're curious to hear more thoughts about that album from me. But it saw them get heavier, darker, a little more proggy as well. It just gave me everything that I wanted to hear because I had heard like this latent potential in their music to kind of really amp up the dynamics, I guess. And that album did just that while also having a really dark and at times depressing mood. That being said, though, I wasn't crazy about the follow-up, 2017, with How to Live as Ghosts. That album just kind of vanillified their sound a little bit too much for me. And then they went back to their tried and true formula for their last record, 2020's Violent Allies, which again I think was just a solid record. But that being said, I really wasn't sure what to expect from this album, although three of the singles were released up to 2 years before this drop. I wasn't sure if they were going to go for more of that more mainstream type sound or maybe do something darker. And what I got on this EP was elements of both of those. Obviously, the three singles, The Optimist, I Remember, and Rise, are definitely a bit more on the radio-friendly side. I really enjoyed The Optimist when it first dropped. I just thought it had an overall just catchy and infectious sound to it the whole time. There's that I shouldn't say short, but there's a simple but effective little guitar solo that makes me feel so nostalgic because those melodies are just so like early 2000s, mid 2000s hard rock. The chorus was anthemic and catchy, but also moody at the same time. There's also that really simple verse riff, but it just gets stuck in your head. But then I wasn't too big on the next two singles, I Remember and Rise. Rise I didn't really enjoy that much because just the melodies felt so like recycled. I feel like I had heard many of those melodies, pretty much the whole song, different parts of it, already in other songs that have been released from other bands or even 10 years themselves. That song's only redeeming quality for me was its chorus, with its real groovy riff behind it, and it just overall felt really powerful, and it really leveled up the song and gave it an extra level of dynamics that it very well needed, but didn't really get enough of. And I remember, too, just that intro, like, synth melody, that just feels like a dime a dozen synth melody that I've heard so many times before. And you got those, like, stomp and clap verses, not a fan of that. And even though I do like the use of the double bass drum, and there is that like stopping down-picked riff in the bridge with that little guitar lick over it that I think is cool, but these two singles haven't been songs that I've came back to. But that being said, I was very happy to see that 10 Years left some awesome songs for the album to release, or the EP. Like the song Gravity is just so infectious with that pounding triplet bass snare drum that just has such a great stomp to it. Jesse Hazik lets out some awesome sounding screams on this song. I love how this song just continues to build and then drop and then build and then drop. It just keeps teasing you with the tension, and I love it. And the song ends with this incredibly moving, I don't know if it's like an acoustic guitar or clean guitar and these strings. It's about a minute, almost 2 minutes of it, I'm pretty sure. But it kind of takes some of the synth ideas from the song and just amplifies them and lets them just grow and explore themselves. Stuff like this, moments like this, and sections like this are what I've missed from 10 Years' last two albums. This outro section is just absolutely amazing. It is tear-jerking even. It feels dramatic and triumphant, but also like wrought with despair. Like you just won a war, but you're looking behind you and seeing all the casualties. And the track's speechless too, even though some of the ideas on that song do feel a little bit recycled, like that intro and synth melody again, also some of Jesse's vocal cadences, mainly in like that verse pre-chorus section. But aside from that, just this song again has a really cool build to it with those more like intricate verses. You get some technical drums in there, and then it just, that dramatic chorus just hits so hard with Jesse's powerful vocals just really adding to the drama. There's another little solo in the bridge that really adds to the mood of the song, and then it closes out just in such like this awesome crescendo. Although you do then get that generic synth melody to actually close the song out. So maybe a little hit or miss, but I still enjoy the song for the most part just because of how it moves. And the Trench as well, I really enjoy. Just those bassy verses And the way this song then transitions into this, again, stopping snare drum pre-chorus, and then again another huge dramatic chorus with kind of that stop and go riff. That chorus just really feels like it's ascending every time you hear it. And there's also some really vicious screams again from Jesse in this song that I really enjoy. And there's also, again, that more intricate, more laid-back bridge section that I really enjoy, with just drums-wise, it's just a bass drum and some closed hi-hats, and Jesse just is kind of rambling with his vocals a little bit, but it gives it this real dramatic and emotion-filled boost of energy, only for it to then explode into that final chorus and end the song on some somber piano parts. So just aside from those second two singles, I'm really enjoying this EP. And even those two songs aren't bad. They just, again, feel a bit recycled. One thing I've really always liked about this band that is very much swaying me with this EP is Jesse Hasig's lyrics. The Optimist is probably my favorite song lyrically. I love those lyrics when I first heard them, and they're still really sticking with me now. That line of keeping the optimist alive in you, like, that is so powerful. And the way Jesse delivers it, it just makes these lyrics sound so desperate, like you were clinging on to life. And ironically, I really enjoyed the lyrics in both Rise and I Remember as well. Rise kind of tackles this idea of time just slipping by you, and you feel like you're almost getting, I don't know if out of touch is the right word, but he sings about keeping up with like the changing times. And I Remember tackles this idea of kind of like losing inspiration. There's another line in the song that I really love. It's when he says he's blinded by the bright side that he remembers. Blinded by the bright side. It's like he's haunted thinking about how he used to be and how much inspiration and motivation he used to have. And as far as production goes, I'm not particularly a fan of the heavy use of electronics on this album. Again, a lot of those synth melodies just feel really recycled and like they're just dime a dozen melodies. Like, there are times on this album where I feel like I'm listening to Skillet. And for me, that's not a good thing. So I do think those elements are slightly overused, especially when the songs kind of rely on them for their main hook. Again, like Rise, like I Remember. But there are other times where they really add a lot to the song, like Gravity. Like I said, even aside from that outro part, which I already singled out as something I love, the kind of synth melodies that are weaved into those verses that kind of just add those extra like flourishes, I thought those were pretty well done. Also the trench, again, aside from the outro with the pianos, there's also just subtle piano notes weaved in throughout the song. And everything else sounds great. I absolutely love Jesse's vocals on this album. His vocals are always a highlight for me. He's just one of those vocalists that knows how to utilize his voice. Like, he knows how his voice sounds and he uses it in like the perfect way. Just saying that immediately brings to mind the track The Unknown off of their last album. That's a great example of that, but there are also several moments on this EP that show that as well. The choruses of both The Optimist and Speechless are very much vocal highlights for me. And again, Gravity, how he kind of goes in and out of his more somber, more like intimate vocals that kind of just like float around you. And then those vicious screams. Very much in the same vein of Chino Moreno from Deftones. So if there's any Deftones fans watching this, I definitely recommend checking out this EP and this band. And I gotta say, overall, this is, again, a pretty enjoyable EP, even with those two songs I wasn't crazy about. For all those reasons, I'm gonna score this EP a 23 out of 30. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. Feel free to hit subscribe. I have lots of album reviews coming up, and comment your thoughts on this EP below. Thank you once again for watching, and until next time, peace.